when I went to I Love Boosters, a lot of people walked out. I saw people leaving the theater because they were like, this is too fucking weird. I don't understand what's going on.
I left. I left. Ooh, wait. No.
Listen. Listen. Wait.
I hate you for that.
Let me fix it. Welcome back to Let Me Fix It, the podcast that says, or would you rather these leopards take care of it? I'm Francesca Ramsey. I'm a writer, an actress, a producer, and social media consultant. Strategist.
Somebody was talking about how multi-hyphenate both of us are. They were like, that's a long list. I'm Delon Grant. I'm an actor, a singer, writer, photographer, and an educator. Who was that tagline from?
This week's tagline comes to us from Ria with a note that says, thank you for being so smart and so silly, which I really appreciated. Class, if you would like to send us a tagline, all you have to do is email it to us. LetMeFixItPod@gmail.com. You can send us a voice note, or you can send it to us via email, just as text, the way that Ria did this week, and we might include yours in the show.
And you know, we always have this segment called Comments for the Class, which will come up in this episode as we do every week. But class, don't forget, you can also send us your secrets. Okay?
Yes.
You can also send us your problems. We also want to hear from you constantly. This is all, you're part of the class, right? So get at us with your secrets and your issues. We'd love to tackle those with you as well.
Yes. So look, we're going to keep our streak of movie reviews going this week.
People really liked it. Yo, people were in the comments with obsession last week.
You know what? And that's a perfect segue. Before we get into this episode, because class, if it hasn't been apparent by the title, we're going to be talking about I Love Boosters this week. But I gotta say, people are getting a little crazy in those comments when we talk. Supercut. I'm saying supercut so I can go back and cut that and find it very easily. Just making my life easier. Okay. So whenever, and this is not just obsession, okay? This happened when we talked about The Crash. This happened when we talked about Justin Bieber's heated rivalry, Justin Bieber's performance. And unfortunately, it's not just randos on the internet. Sometimes it's people who are members of the class that get so passionate that you would think I cursed out somebody's mama. And it is okay for us to disagree about like the substance of a film, right? Or a character or a storyline or whatever. We're not in an argument. I saw some people, Delon, in the Obsession review being like, I don't like how he talks to you. And I'm like,
do you know that this woman is my soulmate, my sister, my other half?
Delon, somebody said to me, it just feels like every time you say something, he disagrees with you. And I was like, well, we're not arguing, but like we could see things differently.
Well, you know what? This is a great conversation because if Fran, we would not be as good of friends, I don't think, if we weren't able to have this level of discourse. You just mentioned the woman who had the tagline was like, I love how smart you are. The reason that we're smart is because we're very analytical, right?
Yes.
Well, we're educated in all those things, but like we're curious people. And so our curiosity makes me go, oh, you thought that? Why did you think that?
Yes.
And I'm going to push back on that. I always say this, adjacent to our relationship, but in any kind of discourse, any conversation or debate, it can easily turn into debate because I go, hey man, either I'm going to double down on my opinion and be like, okay, these things make me feel that that's right. Or that makes sense to me, and or you're going to say something that makes me go, I never thought about this shit.
Literally,
wow.
and it's nuance, right?
Yeah.
The idea that like sometimes you and I don't see eye to eye on something, but like ultimately our relationship is strengthened by the fact that we can present how we feel about something in a cogent, that's a Delon word, a cogent way that like we can back up how we feel. And it's strange to me. This happens all over the internet where people cannot hold space for multiple things to be true. And it, look, when it comes to like the big things like racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, any of the isms, we're not going to have agree to disagree on those. Okay. But when we're talking about music or art or a movie or whatever, like it's okay for you to like something that I don't like and vice versa, or for us to feel differently about the motivations behind it. And so I just wanted to put this disclaimer out here because I have seen It happened in our comments, and I've seen it happen around the I Love Boosters conversation. And y'all not gonna talk to me crazy. You're really
Well,
not.
and the other thing about that is, like, you use the word nuance. We say this all the time on this
Yes.
podcast. You know, things are gray. Many things can be true at once. Nuanced conversations have to exist. I think, period, full stop, right? And if everyone's on the same page, then there is no diversity. There is
We
no.
can't all agree all the time.
And thank God, because that's how I learn. That's how I teach, right?
Yes,
That's how you see things from a different perspective. So, I listen. I love that we are so copacetic and so on the same page about a lot of fucking things.
Yes.
But every now and again, we'll go, well, damn. No, I don't agree with you.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and that's okay. It's fruitful. It's beautiful. You know, it's lovely.
1000%. So now that we got that disclaimer out of the way, class, we are going to dive into I Love Boosters, the new film written and directed by Boots Riley that follows a group of teenage shoplifters targeting luxury fashion stores to find their tight-knit dynamic threatened when ambition, betrayal, and survival begin to collide. Delon, I mentioned watching this film as part of my artist date for The Artist Way. Don't forget, we're doing The Artist Way, new episodes on Sundays. And you asked me what I thought about it. And I said, I didn't.
You were a little lukewarm on it. You were.
I didn't love it. So again, I'm going to tip it off to you to see how you feel about it, since I kind of, I've already spoiled how I feel about it, but I still want to have an in-depth discussion because I think there's a lot to unpack here.
Absolutely. And I think in the interest of doing what we said with Obsession, I have a couple of things that aren't spoilers to talk about.
Okay.
But there will be spoilers, class. So, prepare yourself, right?
Yes.
One of the things that I think is really lovely about the film, I'll start with a lot of the positives, right? It's a surrealist take on capitalism and worker exploitation, which I think right now is so timely and so important. I think the idea that it's called I Love Boosters is very significant, because booster is, I grew up knowing that those people were shoplifters, but it's a very like urban
Insider
black vernacular, you know what I mean? So even that kind of gives an homage to this kind of ecosystem within our economy, right? There are people who are stealing and reselling, you know?
Yes.
I think about, and this is not the same thing, but I think about in Chinatown in New York, you can go down there and get you a knockoff Louis Vuitton, right? It's very that. So I think that was really important and significant. And the surrealism was cool, right? Some other films that are surreal, Mulholland Drive. You ever see that?
Yeah. Another one that I'm like, on. But you mentioned Being John Malkovich. Another very surrealist, weird movie.
Evidently, Requiem for a Dream is very surrealist as well, or absurdist.
Yeah, I think it's surrealist. Yeah.
I was confused. You called this a visual feast, which you were absolutely right.
Yes.
Class, if you haven't seen this yet, the production design, the costume design,
incredible.
Need all of the awards, need all of the, the sheer scale of it, right? Is really, there are these shops that this woman, Christy, I forget her last name, with the character Demi Moore plays.
Demi Moore's character.
Christy Smith.
Metro Fashion, I think is what it's called.
What a name.
I mean, and this is a good segue. I laughed a lot watching this movie. Like, there were a number of moments. Oh, did you? Did you laugh? Yes, I did laugh. Like, the idea that every store was just one color. I was also
I thought that was so
funny and smart. And class, again, this is very much like a satirical, dystopian, sci-fi heist movie. So it's like blending a lot of different genres. Yes. And I agree, the idea that like the production is incredible. Like, there's a lot of practical effects, which I thought was a very intentional choice on Boots Riley's part. The fact that there's like stop animation at the end of the film that very easily could have been done with CGI or visual effects. Stop animation is very labor intensive. It looked a little, to me, there are parts where I was like, guys, this looks weird, but also like that was a clear choice. And I really respect that. Like, it's very much a Boots Riley production. Have you seen Sorry to Bother You, Delon?
No. Mm-mm.
It's fucking weird. It's a weird
Yeah.
movie. And I will say I enjoyed it, but like it seems like now that I've watched these two films, there's like the before of the film and then there's like the after of the weird. And in Sorry to Bother You, there's a turn that gets really fucking weird. And as soon as it happens, you're like, what is going on? And when I went to I Love Boosters, a lot of people walked out. I saw people leaving the theater because they were like, this is too fucking weird. I don't understand what's going on.
I left. Girl, I left. I left the theater. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
Oh, wait, I know when it was.
When was it?
Spoiler. When Lakeith became a weird dinosaur and started eating that woman's pussy. And he sucked her soul out. And he sucked her. You left
I left before that. I left when they started taking their skin off.
No, that was at the end. So
was that
missed.
The end?
Yeah, so you missed.
I will also say I did fall asleep. So I probably missed that because I fell asleep.
Okay, there is a point in the film, again, the movie is about, these girls that are stealing, and Keke Palmer's like the ringleader of this group, and she's a fashion designer, and it's all about like, her artistry is being stolen by Demi Moore, whatever. And then in the middle of the movie, Lakeith Stanfield is hitting on her, and she's like, I don't know she's like interested in him, but she's not sure. Something about him is
but
like
there's
weird,
energy
mysterious.
Between the two of them.
There's energy between them, and he's very weird. Delon, then Lakeith's character goes and hooks up with this woman who the actress is actually his real life partner. They have a kid together.
Wow.
And he turns into like a giant alien who eats her pussy and levitates her off the bed and sucks her dry. Like her skin becomes ashy and like crackled, and his mouth is all like scary. And when I tell you, Dawn, you must have been in a deep sleep because this scene goes on for fucking ever.
Really?
It is just, he's like, and she's like, ah. And then and it zooms out, and he has like this big long tail, and he's sweating and he's pulsating, and it's just like, it just lasts for so long, and I didn't understand like why it had to happen.
And here's I understand conceptually why surrealism exists, right?
Yes.
It's the idea of like subverting our reality and taking bizarre imagery and contorting things. It's very like a Dali painting, the melting clocks.
Yeah.
It's very that.
Love a Dali.
And it's supposed to be a representation that's supposed to make you feel something as opposed to being very cerebral, right?
Yes.
But like what happens in film is that you start with a narrative and a character and a protagonist and an antagonist, and then we see ourselves through their journey, through their fight, the protagonist's fight. And then when it takes turns like this, you're like, but what does that have anything to do with what I was fighting for? So now you've completely made me shut off. Sure, intellectually, but I actually don't care in my heart either. I stopped caring because Keke's character is very strong. She's like a budding fashion designer.
Yeah.
It has like this Robin Hood thing, steal from the rich, give to the poor, kind of. You know what I mean? You're rooting for her in some way. But then you just kind of stop. There's this weird narrative where spoiler, there's a sweatshop worker narrative where like there's this character named, I think John Howe is her name, John Who or something like that.
Poppy Lou, a friend of mine.
Poppy Lou.
Everybody I know was in this fucking movie.
Listen, and they were great. Y'all were killing it. But she comes in with this teleporting machine. Yeah. And like then they can change the clothes of everyone. And I was like, okay, you've jumped the shark here. You've jumped the shark.
Well, and I think this is a perfect moment. Like the I don't know, it's like a time machine, but it's a time machine, but it also does everything. It also like breaks down
food.
It does your taxes. It's also a vibrator. Like it can break down the structural integrity
of matter,
and like of matter. And so there's like, they pointed out one girl. I mean, this made me laugh. They pointed out one girl and it reduces her to like her parents fucking.
Having
Did you see
sex,
that?
that was
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
But I'm also like, okay, what does the machine do? Because you are like,
Right.
I feel like this film suffered from trying to do too much instead
Couldn't
of
agree more.
getting really serious, like getting specific about what it wanted to do. And on the one hand, what I said in our Artist Way review, I appreciated that it was so ambitious. And it definitely made me think like, man, I need to like be a little more off the wall with my own ideas. I play it safe a lot. And like this motherfucker is doing anything that he wants.
Pussy sucking aliens? Pussy sucking demons? I mean, come on.
It sucked the soul out of her. I just was like, I would love to be in the note sessions. What did the studio say when they read this? Like, it's crazy, right? But at the same time, I feel like, and by the end, I guess maybe you missed this, Delon, it's really a film about like ownership and theft and capitalism and like, you know, worker solidarity and like all of those things I think are really interesting and important. I just feel like it gets like bogged down by like the giant ball of, you know, clothes and then the time machine and the jumping through different things and then you're taking off your sin scoot. It's like there's so many things happening.
Yeah.
And I felt like, especially the explanation of the machine, there were times where I was like, people are saying nothing. This is gobbledygook. She's like, and then it's the transversive dynamics and the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, none of this makes any sense.
And nor do I care. Nor do I care because I'm interested in what the character is fighting for. Meaning like, you know, Demi Moore's character steals one of Keke's designs and and Keke's character looks up to Demi Moore's character. I loved it. So like
that was real. Because
and the narrative,
was real.
Yeah, and the narrative was, we're going to go now take all of her merchandise. And they used the machine to do it. But, like, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see how that became a reality for them. Like, that's the hero part of it, you know?
Yes.
This skin suit thing, I mean, the other, you're right, so much shit in here. There was also, like, Don Cheadle playing this character who's, like, an
in
LLM.
A fat suit. Yeah,
like
the
a
pyramid
thing.
scheme. Sorry to cut you off. I think this is like, I think this also suffered from like trying to be too messagey. Like I felt like the pyramid scheme thing was about like the realities of capitalism, right? That like somebody has to use somebody else to get ahead, right? And they're going to these meetings and it's very clear that that John Cheadle's character is selling them a pipe dream and he's taking advantage of all of these people, which is like a very real thing. But like, why do I care? Like, it was not advancing the story forward. It just felt like things were happening. They were happening to happen.
Yeah, you know what? With the skin suit of it all, so class, there's like Don Cheadle's one of these people. There are all these characters that you see on TV that are, I forget what they're promoting, but they're kind of spread throughout the film. And then at some point, there are these $100,000 suits that Keke and her gang want to get a hold of that Christy, Demi Moore's character, is making.
As designed, yeah.
And so it turns out that the suits were the skin suits, and these people take them off when Keke's team is trying to rob them, right? Which I thought that was a little messagey, but a little interesting. The idea that you're selling your actual skin, you're selling something, and you, what are you without that, right?
Yeah,
that's interesting, and that also kind of kept the narrative going, right? Kept me interested. I was disgusted by it, you know.
Yeah,
but I was.
But then it just went on for a long time. There was like there was a long chase scene, and I felt like the third act, like, and again, the part that you fell asleep at, which was like the demon pussy eating whatever, it was like that third act suffered from just being really bogged down with like too much stuff happening. And I was like, when is this movie over?
Fran, when they were pulling off the skin suit, I was sitting here looking like this. And I'll say this, I'm an age in my life where my time is precious, right? I don't have enough of it to do the 7,000 jobs that I have, right? And to maintain the relationships that I have. So if I'm sitting in something and I don't like it, I'm like, no, I get to leave, right? I went to see this show on Broadway last year, I think. And people loved it. Highly recommended. Oh my God. My friend saw it in London. Go. Got tickets to the fucking show. Sitting there, couldn't understand a word. Bored. would rather watch the documentary about the film or about the show. So I was like, bye, left at intermission. I'm not above that. Time is precious,
I mean,
you know?
on the topic of couldn't understand a word, was it just me or was like the sound mix all off on this film? There were moments where people were talking and I was like, what are they saying? I need a subtitle. And like, it's frustrating because on the one hand, the music, which was produced by Tune Yards, which is an incredible band that I really love and I've seen live multiple times. The music is so fun and interesting. Like when they're actually like doing the heist, it's like
it's very cartoony. Yeah.
It's cartoony. It's weird, but I'm like, I need you to turn the volume on the mics up a little tiny bit because the is drowning out dialogue.
The dings and the zoos were going a little far. Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. So let's talk about, again, the other reason, Delon, that I wanted to make this disclaimer about this movie specifically is people love this film and I will not take them away from it. But I have seen people calling names anything but a child of God if you don't say that you like this movie. People are like, oh, so you're an idiot? You don't stand against the revolution? You're not part of the revolution? And I'm like, guys, pump your brakes. Well, it's okay.
I think a part of it is like with surreal films like this, like I feel like I need to go in with a little bit of knowledge about what I'm about to see, right? Because if I go into it expecting a traditional narrative, again, where I'm rooting for the protagonist and there's an antagonist and there's like some kind of, like you said, third act, right? A beginning, middle, and end that I can follow in terms of story, then I think that's what I expect in films. But if not, I go, okay, well, what am I experiencing? What am I holding on to, right? I don't really have anything to hold on to. It's kind of like you're screaming at me, showing me images, and it means nothing to me. It's very Clockwork Orange. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, that is so funny. Wait, you were going to crack up about this. Our friend Laura, I said to her, I said, oh, I saw I Love Boosters recently. And she was like, oh, what did you think of it? And I said, oh, I didn't like it. She said, you did it? I loved it. And I said, no, I just thought it was weird. And then she goes, well, it's not a good movie, but I loved it. She goes, oh, it was terrible, but I had a lot of fun. And I was like, that is one way to describe it. And I did have fun. Like, oh my God, one part that made me laugh so hard is when they're working in the clothing store and they take their lunch break and the lunch break is 30 seconds. That like made me howl. Where they sit down to like, you know, like they're on a starting line at a race and then they run out and just run back and their lunch break is over. That made me laugh so hard.
That's brilliant commentary. That's brilliant commentary because we both work retail and any break you get at those a 30-minute lunch break.
Yeah, you can't leave. And then it's just like, you know, again, the capitalist layers of like, you know, stealing from the corporation while the corporation is stealing your ideas and your labor, and they're running the sweatshop. Again, like, I think your earlier point about if you had known going in that it was a surrealist thing, you know what I also wanted? I wanted like, remember pop-up video on VH1?
Yes.
I wanted that. Like when things happen, they're like, hey, boop, this is what this is supposed to mean.
Boots comes up and he's like, hey now, I know you're confused, but let me catch you up.
Let me explain what's going on. Like that's what I wanted, you know? And like even Lakeith Stanfield's character made me laugh a number of times. Like one point he says, I'm a model too for TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Hysterical, you know, or like he texts her and he's like, hey, I'm about to call you. And then he sends a selfie of himself. I cannot tell you how many corny ass dudes have sent me selfies of themselves, like as if it's like supposed to be hot. And he's like smoldering in the picture.
So I'm such a gay.
Yes, you are.
I'm such a gay that when you were like, oh, I was like, oh no, that's smart, just so that you can remember who he is.
You're a hoe. You are a hoe.
He's a hoe. Listen, I too much information, but I re-met somebody. Yes. And we were like on the dance floor talking. We're like, I feel like I know you. He gave me his number, and I was like, oh no, we've definitely met before. We've definitely met before.
That is so
gay.
Funny. I also just to circle back on the disclaimer, the fact that you said, oh, I'm too gay for this. somebody tried to clock me in the obsession review because I was talking about like the toxic masculinity of nice guys. And I said, well, you're gay. So like, this is a thing that straight men do. And somebody in the comments was like, oh, so you're saying toxic masculinity doesn't exist in the gay community? I'm like, that's not what I said at all. I said that my gay ass friend, who I've known for 20 plus years, does not know, he has not encountered a straight man that acts like this, because this is a way that straight men act when interacting with women that they want to fuck. And this is a perfect example. For me, if a straight man sends me a selfie, I'm like, ew, get over yourself. If a man sends you a selfie, you're like, I do remember him.
Yes, name, face, got it. Yeah.
Send me a picture of your abdominals too. I just want to make sure I
wait. You're not wrong. Wait. Too many segues. But the other thing I want to talk about how I would have changed this film.
Okay, yes.
It's kind of like just leaning into the anti-hero of it all, right?
Yeah,
so we're talking about capitalism, and Boots Riley does an amazing job of like all these segments, the lunch break thing, you know. I fucking loved when you went to Demi's house.
Oh my God.
And everything is slanted.
That was very funny.
That's fucking brilliant. That's fucking brilliant. And it says something is off in here.
Yes.
And it's like, even when you're in the building, you don't know how to get ahead.
But it's not off to Demi, right? Like to her, she's just like walking around like this is totally her normal. And to the practical effects of all, when Keke is trying to leave the apartment and her legs start spinning, they built a big leg thing in order to have it spin around. I mean, that type of stuff was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I loved the costuming. I loved every time that they would like hit a store and they would all just stand there in their like outfits. Every single one, I was like, yes, I want a breakdown of all of these outfits.
Yeah, and whoever designed that is like, I mean, awards. But I would have loved for him to invest in the anti-hero of it all, meaning like, you know, stealing is stealing. I mentioned Robin Hood. There's this Robin Hood-esque steal from the rich, give to the poor kind of narrative. And clearly Demi Moore and a big corp designers are part of capitalism and not doing the right shit anyway. I would have loved for the narrative to go, you're fucked up, but we need to figure out a way to come together. We have to work together for a greater goal. Right. I don't know what that would have been, but that would have been a little bit more interesting to me. I know it's like, who's a villain? Demi's the villain. Big Corp is the villain, which I completely agree with. But I not to make it a little Pollyanna, but I would have loved for there to been like, okay, we have to join forces. Because I think that's kind of like, this is not his film, but like the commentary that I have just on capitalism, which I talk about a lot on the pod, is like, well, what the fuck are we going to do?
Yes.
It's not changing. It's the economic system we inherited. So people talk about socialism. I don't know. That's not going to happen in our lifetime. We can change things incrementally. But I would have loved to have been like, okay, that gives me some kind of hope for this thing that is really systemic and a lot bigger than us. And you know, makes us feel hopeless.
To be fair, they don't join forces.
I didn't see the whole film.
To be fair, they didn't join forces with Demi, but there is this whole narrative about like worker solidarity.
Right.
And like Keke goes to, you know, the area in China that Poppy Lou's character.
They went to China too. Damn.
They go through the thing and they're in the sweatshop and they're all like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I'm friends with her." And they're like, "Great, we're gonna work together." And then, you know, the skin suit guys are chasing them, and then there's like a big speech at the end, and Demi Moore's like, "Whoa, those pesky kids." I mean, it just does kind of, very, very Scooby-Doo. So I do think they tried to do that without it actually happening with Demi. But I think to your point, I felt like it just was convoluted by so much shit going on. Like there was just too many things happening. Eric Andre, who I went to fucking high school with, he shows up and he's a cop and he's fucking driving down the streets and he's knocking people over and they're shooting at each other. And it's just like, what is happening?
What is happening?
There's just too much going on. What I would have really liked to see is, I just wish that I knew who Keke's character was a little bit more. Like I think Keke is a delight. She like
Ugh.
lights up the screen. You know, I like that we feel like a yearning in her soul for like, you know, her dreams to come true. I just wish I knew like a little bit more of who she was.
Where she came from, because
Where
that would also, did she go to fashion school? Did she want to go to fashion school? Right? Like a little bit
yeah.
more. I'm totally there with you.
Yeah, or like the you know the flashback moment of her playing with her dolls and like creating a dress for them and you know or you know she always wanted a black doll and she didn't have one and so then she made one herself and like the way that it made her feel like she's represented or some I don't know something.
Yeah.
I just was missing that. Um and then again, I just felt like it was too long and story wise, it just didn't do it for me. I will say, I would love to see on the fix of it all. I would love to see Boots Riley directing more music videos. Like I miss
Mm.
the era of Hype Williams where
Mm.
black you know were rappers whether it be Missy Elliott or Busta Rhymes were doing these like surrealist weird
Yeah.
colorful outside of the box type of music videos and we've talked about this a number of times how like music videos because of MTV and because of social media we don't really need music videos in the way that we did with MTV and
Right.
so music videos have to kind of serve multiple purposes with like product placement and
Mm-hmm.
you know and they need to be like memeable and shareable and I really feel like that's where Boots Riley thrives like he could put some cool weird messaging in there he could do some memeable moments in music videos and not have to be bogged down by story because I feel like that's where he doesn't really land the plane for me.
Agreed.
Anna?
Agreed. Well, and I'll add on to that. Like, I really love that idea. And I wonder if, because images is film, right? But he like really creates some stunning images in this film, as we
Yes.
keep saying. I wonder if taking what you said and what he's currently doing and saying like, hey, let's Francesca, you have an album or an EP. Let's
Mm-hmm.
make a visual album like
Yeah.
people are doing right now, and then put it in theaters as a short. Like it's a
Yes.
short
Like
before the actual
Renaissance.
film.
Or like Renaissance. Like just
Or
give us
a
a
full feature.
visual.
Totally.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Like
that would
that.
be really fruitful.
I love that idea. It makes me think of Janelle Monáe did that with one of her albums where it was just like this really cool, surrealist, sci-fi, dirty computer thing. I
Mm,
would love to see him do something like that so that it kind of like melds both worlds of like a light narrative, but more
yeah.
visually focused. And clearly, like he really has an ear for music. I mean, to me, using the tune yards was brilliant class. If you've never heard their music, it is kind of weird, but
That's quirky.
it's quirky, but I really like their music. There's a lot of like dissonant harmonies and like layered and like looping where they like hit the little loop pedal. It's like I love that
It's
shit.
literally, I mean, and it fits so well into the
Yes.
film because,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, at one point they're like boosting, and Kiki's like overstuffed, or one of them is
Oh
overstuffed in a
my god, that made
sweatsuit.
me laugh so hard.
That
I
had
love
me
that.
cackling, where they were like, and boop, boop, bop, boop, boop, as they're walking. That was really, really funny. Yeah, I love that idea. I can't wait to see what he does next. I love what our friend Laura said. Like, she enjoyed the film. She had a lot of fun, but it wasn't
Yeah.
a good film. I'm
Yeah.
kind of on that. I mean, I left. I left to steal some time back. To the movie's credit, I had a very long day, and I ended up seeing it at 11
Mhm.
o'clock at night.
That is so funny.
it was a losing game already.
I should have known you didn't like it when I texted you and I said, "Hey, are we still doing I love Are we still doing I love boosters?" And you just said, "I saw it."
I thought that you would read through the lines because I was trying not to indicate anything.
Yes.
Well, I was like, yep,
yes,
I saw
I
it.
have seen. Yes, I saw
I went
it.
to the
I'm
movie
like-
and I watched it.
I was like, "Oh." Like that, but I didn't want to say anything because I was like, let's just talk about, because I know us. I was like, we will have a full podcast right here in the text message, and I want to save it for the show. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really hope that the class doesn't eat us up because a lot of people fucking loved this movie, And I felt like I was one of the rare people, Delon. Every time I watch a movie, I always go on Reddit just because I'm curious to see what other people are saying. Every person is like, masterpiece, 10 out of 10, perfect film. And I was like, am I the problem? Am I crazy?
I feel like this happens sometimes with art.
Mm-hmm.
And art is very subjective, as we all know. But like, there have been a couple times where like we've talked about a performance of somebody in terms of Broadway, and they've been like, "Oh my god, it was amazing! It was amazing!" And I'm like, I don't know if y'all saw the same performance I saw. It's not that it was bad, but it was like critiquable, right? Like I do have notes.
And
it's
like you, me, and Chaperone.
Chapel who? This woman loves some Chapel.
I don't even love her like that. I sent Delon one song. He was like, she's singing, she's speaking on pitch. And I was like, no, she's singing. Delon was like, no, she's not.
I mean, I'll give you this. Every time I've gone to like a gay club dancing, which is not very often these days, because you know he's busy and in his 40s. I'm like, pink ponytail, and they are like screaming this number.
And that's not even her best song, in my opinion. But that's
you like the one
when
she's talking about eating that pussy in that car. What's that song? I couldn't believe she said that. I was like, did she just talk about going down on somebody in a car?
I swear to God, I was driving class. I was listening to that song driving, and I was crying. I was like, I am so gay.
Also, wait, happy Pride Month. I haven't said that to you yet.
Pride.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I am
so
crying.
Funny. So
class,
fucking funny.
Tell us in the comments if you saw I Love Boosters. What did you think about it? Had you heard the term booster before? Because
good call.
I worked at Urban Outfitters, and Delon, they used to come in with what they called a booster bag. It was a giant bag that was like lined with a reflective material. So when they put the clothes in it, it didn't set off the sensor. And they would come in with these big bags. And like, I will say, like, one of the things I thought when I was watching this movie, and it reminded me of The Artist Way, is I always wanted to write a movie about shoplifters because of my experience at Urban Outfitters. And so when I saw the title, I Love Boosters, I went, God damn it. I've been sitting on that idea. And that's one of the things they talk about in The Artist Way, when it's like, you will see your idea somewhere, and instead of going, well, now I can't do it, the reframe of like, oh, there's an appetite for this. And there's allowed to be multiple movies about shoplifting, and my perspective was very different, but like there were career shoplifters at my store,
and they're not who you think they are. It's not the people you're following around.
Now, wait,
FYI. Okay.
Because you know what they would do, Delon? When this was so insidious, when there would be a suspected shoplifter on the walkies at Urban Outfitters, they would go, oh, your friend is in blah, blah, blah. And it was always a black person. And they'd be hey, Francesca, your friend is in Home Goods. And I would look over, it would be a black girl. And I'm like, God fucking damn it. And then while we're following the black girl, the white girls are taking the shit.
Exactly.
And putting it in the bags. The stories
I wanted
that
them
I
to be
had.
like your cousin. If they called it your cousin, I'd be dead.
Well, it's funny because you and I always go, your friend Ellen DeGeneres. I know,
that's what made me cackle.
Oh my
so
God.
Funny.
Well, class, we want to hear what you thought about I Love Boosters. Tell us if you think we don't understand capitalism and worker solidarity, because we didn't fucking like this movie.
Listen, I applaud the effort. It's valiant. I applaud the visuals. I just like the narrative didn't have anything to sink our teeth into.
Yeah.
Let's hop over talking about hearing from the class. Let's hop over to comments from the class. Do you have any this week, friend?
Love hearing from you, class, whether it's in our inbox over on Instagram at FixItPod, or emails, lemmefixitpod@gmail.com, or right here in the comments under our videos. This one came to us as an email, and it says, my name is Joan. I've been listening and watching Let Me Fix It since mid-2025, a little into season 3. I've been a fan of Francesca since I was a teenager. Ooh, don't age me. Watching your series Decoded on YouTube, I've been following your career off and on, and you're truly inspiring in terms of online content creator, trendsetter, I say, to filmmaker, writer, online personality, and you are a model of the multi-hyphenate career I want for myself. I'm also a huge theater actor as well, so Delon adds great advice and commentary to trending topics that makes your dynamic shine so much. I live on YouTube, so on the one hand, I love the videos, but I miss the podcast format. I thought this was interesting. So Joan says, I would love to see you guys talk about seeing zillennials my age, 26 to 30, who are sitting in this in-between of what the professional world has promised to us and how we can stay engaged with trends in the entertainment media space. I'm a filmmaker, writer, and content creator, so new perspectives I'm always hopeful to hear. It would be cool to bring back the career fixes and the TV film fixes. Those are my favorites. Keep up what you're doing. I'm rooting for you both in your joy and aspirations. What a sweet email.
Thank you so much. Tell me their name again.
Joan. And they want to know about just talking about zillennials who are sitting in this in-between of what was promised to them. And this is like a very deep and heavy thing that we have talked about here on the pod before. Yeah. That like after going through the COVID pandemic and not being able to go, you know, to have a regular college experience and then coming out. And before that, you know, the school shootings, which were like starting when we were in high school, but then like really started to ramp up. And now the job market is absolutely decimated. There's no fucking place to live. It's so expensive. We're in a housing crisis. You know, what do we think these young people should be doing in order to not lose hope and to like, you know, create a path forward for themselves despite everything that's going on?
I mean, first and foremost, vote. First and foremost, absolutely vote. I know that sometimes that can seem a long ways away or really inaccessible, meaning like in terms of your direct bank account or your direct situation. But I think that is how, and we collaborate with Run for Something. We've had some candidates on the podcast, which I think is very significant. But not only that, to not lose hope, I think the only thing we're able to do is continue to work. Continue to work and continue to have conversation, as I said a lot on the pod. But I know that like a lot of people, young people are out here applying for job after job after job. And we have to start getting creative about how we're applying for jobs because AI, right? AI, you apply for a job and
they reject you before you even hit send.
Well, and here's what I heard, right? So if you're applying for a job and they're using an AI software, multiple companies are probably using that software.
That same software.
And so the software is just rejecting you over and over and over again. So we have to get a little bit more creative about what we're applying for and how we're applying, right?
Yes.
And I think that
can I tag on to that? The job market thing? I 1000% agree. We have to do things a little bit differently. And I'm of the mind that this is where community is really going to help us. We need to do more things offline. We need to connect with people. We need to build relationships because if you are looking for a job right now, who you know is going to get you further than what you know. That means sending emails to old teachers, sending emails to, you know, past employers, reaching out to people that you went to school with, like letting people know, hey, I'm looking for work. Because especially when it comes to social media, we're all presenting this falsified version of ourselves. And that's not to say that we're not being authentic, but like you're not getting online and being like, I'm really stressed about paying my bills. Like you're not necessarily always telling people where you're really at. And so it's very easy for folks to assume, oh, they have it all together versus actually, I'm really looking for a job. Like I need help. And so we're going to have to get a little bit more creative. I mean, I feel like there's the common adage of parents say like, well, why don't you go in and hand the resume to the manager? That doesn't work. That does not work.
You're probably applying for something that's 2 cities away. Like you have, that's ridiculous, especially with how we're connected on the internet.
But if you can use social media almost as your resume, like can you create a reel? I sent you that one, Delon, from a girl on LinkedIn who made this beautiful video about her expertise in social media. And when I tell you this video was so cool. It was funny. It was slick. It was creative. The editing was like so fast paced. There was typography. It changed locations. It was awesome. And I was like,
Yeah.
this girl wants a job and somebody's going to give it to her. And not to say that everybody has those skills, but who can you collaborate with in your network that can help set you up for success so that you can use social media and or use your connections to get your foot in the door? Because again, the LinkedIn premium is a scam.
It's an absolute scam. And I just several things. Like I just want to point out like the narrative that you just gave about like tapping into your network, saying I'm looking for a job. This is something that you just did.
Yes.
And as somebody who was like, I respect your career. I've been watching Francesca since she was a teenager. Francesca just had to reach out to her network and go, and you talked about it on the pod.
Yes.
Hey, I'm looking for freelance work. I'm looking for work, and that bore fruit, right?
Yes.
Not only, I just to Joan's narrative about the expectation of what we were, the steps you were supposed to take, the escalator as the life escalator, as we call it sometimes. We were told, get good grades, go to college, get the degree, you'll get a job. That's how capitalism works in America, right? And that is no longer the narrative. To pull in this woman from social media that you're talking about, it is a matter of thinking outside of the box and and also doing that work and presenting that kind of package, as it were, in a different way. So yeah, send your resume, but also follow up with an email with a package, with something else, right? Oh, I saw this on your social media and here's something I thought. It's a little extra work, but
send a letter in the mail. I mean, listen, nobody is sending. I saw someone talking about that when they've had interviews, sending a physical thank you, because nobody fucking sends thank yous anymore. And if you got this cool postcard multimedia thing that you open and you're like, whoa, this is cool. What is this? Again, it is unfair that we are in this situation that everyone is being asked to do more unpaid labor in order to get a job. But the reality is what worked in the past does not fucking work anymore. And it's very frustrating.
And we're not being trained in a different way.
No,
that's the other part of it. We're not. And that's the disillusionment. That's Joan and all of us kind of being like, well, I was guaranteed a house at this age.
Yes.
I was guaranteed, I work hard enough, I should be able to do that. Why can't I do that?
1000%. And so I think, when we talked about Obsession, for example, and like these young filmmakers who are turning to YouTube and they're getting these opportunities, like we've seen that from the Quinta Brunsons and the Bo Burnhams and the Issa Raes, like that there is a path to that, but I think we have to start thinking about that same disruption when it comes to other industries.
Yeah.
That like the way that it used to be to get in your foot in the door, it's just not there anymore. And again, thank you for mentioning that, Delon. I posted on my social media, like this is what I'm trying to do, more consulting work. I redid my whole website with more of a focus of I'm a social strategist. I started introducing myself on the pod as a social strategist. And guess what? People reached out to me and said, hey, I think you do consulting, right? And I'm like, I sure do. Let's go.
Absolutely.
I take Zelle, PayPal, Venmo.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. It's a little Pollyanna friend. I mentioned earlier class that we are doing the artist way, and the two of us have been seeing that bear fruit. I said, I was like, I want to direct more. I want to direct more, and I will be directing in 2027. That was something that came into my inbox and was like, would you like to do this thing? And I was like, I would. Oh my God, it's happening.
What about my manager being like, hey, I met somebody who said that they listened to the pod. Would you guys want to do a tour? I said, ma'am?
Say less.
Say less. Say less. So again, it is welcoming those opportunities, but also telling the universe and your network that you want those opportunities. Being unafraid to say you need help. You need connections and let people show up for you.
And that directing thing was because I mentioned to a friend of mine at Drinks that I wanted to direct more. And she threw my name when this theater contacted her. She was like, oh, Delon. It was like, oh, I didn't know he was directing.
Exactly.
Yes, he's directing. Here it is,
Do you have a comment that you would like to highlight?
I do. This one comes from last week's episode on YouTube. This comes from Storm in May. And they say, just wanted to thank y'all for uploading the podcast on Wednesday afternoon for me. Yeah. A lot of pods upload on Monday or even the weekend, and y'all legit get me through the toughest workday of my week. Thank you for the serotonin and for all you both do.
Oh, I just thought that was really so sweet. Well, now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Glow Up, where we give props to those who've turned themselves around without our help. Delon, is it okay if I go first?
Sure.
My glow up goes to an incredible young writer and journalist. Her name is Caro Claire Burke. She is the host of the Diabolical Lies podcast, and her debut novel, Yesteryear, has been #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for 7 consecutive weeks.
Wow.
I wanted to shout her out because while I don't know her personally, I followed her on TikTok, and I have watched this woman on TikTok for years. And while I don't necessarily always agree with her takes, I've always been like, this woman is like stunningly brilliant, almost too smart for social media. You know those people where I'm like, they're not hearing you, mama, because you are literate. You can read. You know what I mean? And like the things we've talked about this episode, nuance, right? Being able to hold space for multiple things to be true. So she pops out with this book, and I've heard lots of people talking about it, and I'm looking at the book cover, and I'm like, why does this name seem so familiar? I Google her. I'm like, oh my God, I've been following this woman on TikTok for years. Had no idea that this was her. Delon, this premise is so fucking interesting. I'm like 3 chapters in. Yesteryear is a satirical thriller about a trad wife, social media influencer who fakes this pioneer lifestyle online. And then one morning she wakes up in 1855 and she is forced to actually live in the 19th century existence that she has been cosplaying online.
Wow.
When I tell you, I said, yes, please. It is so fucking smart. It's so smart. It's so clever. And she did a lot of content about like the dangers of these women that are pushing this trad wife narrative, right?
Yeah.
These women who have built these empires off of like, I have 5 kids and I live on a farm and I do, I make my butter from scratch. Meanwhile, there's a whole team of people.
Right.
Editing and filming and taking care of the kids. And oftentimes they have a lot of money in order to live this lifestyle that looks so like carefree and, traditional. But if y'all were really in the time period that y'all are romanticizing, it would look very different. And that's what this book is about. It is so fucking smart. It's been so cool to see people from all different areas of my life talking about it.
Yeah.
And I had the little parasocial feeling of like, I followed her on TikTok. Like, I don't know this woman. But like, it's really, really cool. And again, the artist's way of it all, it really inspired me. I was like, this is a woman who she didn't tell us all of her fucking business on the internet. She would, weigh in on things that were happening in the world. And she talked about the fact that she was a writer, but she wasn't like, you see a lot of people who tell you from jump, I had a really exciting meeting. Things are happening behind the scenes. It's like, no. Just do the thing. And when it's ready, be like, boom. Here's the book. And the book is fascinating. I'm really enjoying it and I can't wait to finish it. But like, I've been riveted since like the minute I started listening.
And clearly the narrative around it is significant too. I think it's obviously very, very timely, very, yeah. And I also think that like people often talk about what can we do in society right now? What can we do to combat narratives, to combat this administration? Art. And I know like writing a book takes a long time, right? But like, and back to Boots Riley of it all, like, sure, we didn't really enjoy parts of it, but the idea is there.
The conversation it started is fruitful.
Pushing back on it, right? So I love that she talked about this very specific thing that romanticizes, especially trad wives, women's position in the world, and like, in my opinion, trying to take them back to a time where they didn't have any rights.
Right. And we're watching that happen right now, and that these women are pushing this narrative in the midst of, look, you can choose whatever you want for yourself, but that's ultimately you should get to choose.
Yes.
And no one should be forced to live any life, whether it be to be a mother, to work a certain job. I mean, the capitalist narratives of I love boosters, right? Like we should be able to live fulfilled, fruitful lives the way that we see fit, as long as we're not hurting anybody else or ourselves. And so this, to your point, Delon, was a really clever way to talk about that without having to be, beat you over the head with the message. It's like the contradictions are speaking for themselves in this narrative. And it's just so freaking smart.
That's smart. Yesteryear, it's called.
Yes, yesteryear.
Wow.
What's your glow up?
Yeah, so mine is more of a figurative glow up. It's government functioning as it should. So I don't know if you heard about this overpaid CEO tax that Los Angeles is talking about.
No.
Los Angeles and San Francisco are talking about the overpaid CEO tax. I just have to say this comes from a TikToker named Verbal to Visual, and that's via More Perfect Union, the YouTube channel.
I love More Perfect Union.
Yeah, so I saw this TikTok and it's just brilliant. So Los Angeles is talking about putting this bill into law that says, hey, this creator uses Starbucks. Hey, Starbucks, if your CEO is making this much money and your baristas are making this much money, the state and the city are actually paying to subsidize their life more than you are, which is we know to be true, right? Walmart workers are on government assistance. Amazon workers are on government assistance. This should not be the case. So they say the law says, hey, if it's $1 to $50, your CEO makes $50 to the $1 that your barista makes, that's fine. No worries. We can keep that there. But when it gets to 100, 200, 300, 400, then we are going to take what is your normal tax liability for your business, and we're going to double that. We're going to quadruple it up till 10 times what you would normally pay, which I think government, we don't like taxes in this country. We don't like taxes in this country. And like the very neoliberal way of functioning in capitalism right now in the later 20th century is no regulation, no taxes. And that does not help you and I. That helps big corporations, So I just love that, San Francisco implemented, I think Washington State implemented the millionaires tax, which has gone over really well, right? Which has brought in a lot of revenue. Jeff Bezos left, but that's fine. You know what I mean? So I hope that this comes to fruition, because the government needs to function for all of us. And in the last 20 to 40 years, it's only really functioned since the Clinton administration, I'll say, for big corporations, right?
That top 1%.
Yeah. And so I hope that this goes through. There's going to be pushback. There are these big corporations that already have ad campaigns that are trying to fight this, as they're wont to do. But I mean, for the record, this Visual to Verbal Verbal to Visual, says that the Starbucks CEO, I forget his name, it makes 1,794 times.
Wow.
1,794 to 1. So the barista makes X amount of dollars, and he's making 1,000 over almost 2,000 times that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well,
That's crazy.
And here's what's really interesting about this, Delon. I don't know if you saw the story about the art director from Obsession. She came forward and said, hey, I only made $6,000 working on this feature.
Wow.
And now the film has gone on to make 750, or it was made for 750, but has made, 150 million or something like that times, over what I actually made. And it's sort of this big conversation similarly in the film industry, where I've seen a lot of people say, well, that's just how it is. That's how it is. You worked on the film. You knew how much you were going to get paid. No one knew that the movie was going to be a success, which is true.
Sure.
But similarly to this proposed measure, it's the idea that there should be some sort of profit sharing structure for the people that helped you get to where you are. So while you might be the CEO of Starbucks, and I'm not going to say that you don't work at all, but you would not have a successful company without the people who are working in Starbucks. And similarly, while the girl who was the art director on Obsession, because there was a lot of people that were saying, well, this was her first credit. Well, what does she expect? It's like, okay, but she did do the work. And we're watching the film and we're enjoying it. And the people who, the director, writer absolutely deserves all of the money and the praise. The studio deserves money and praise, but the studio did not stay on set for 15 fucking hours making sure that the shit looked right. And so the least you could do is cut Miss Mama a check. Well, that's not how it's done. Well, guess what? We decide how it's done. We can change it.
The question is, why not? Why not?
Right.
And that is the problem with greed and capitalism. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you signed the contract and that's what you got, and this is what I get.
Yeah.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
expect it to go like this. So yeah,
Of
let me
course.
give you a little kickback. I'm not
Yes.
saying it doesn't have to be $1 million, but like it could
Right.
be something.
It could be something. And again, I see this unfortunately happen a lot. The thing that it brings to mind is like student loan debt, right? Like we
Ugh,
talk about student loan relief, and here comes somebody who paid off their student loans, and they're like, "Well, that's not fair. I had to pay my loans off." Yes, and you know what? And I agree that it was not fair that you had those crazy loans and you had to pay
yes,
an
yes,
exorbitant amount to go to college. I'm of the mind that we should change it so other people don't have to go through that.
right.
It's not a
I
tit
mean,
for tat, you know?
and listen, this is whataboutism, but like, I don't have any generational wealth. Why? Wait,
Oh,
somebody asked me this, a
hmm.
Hungarian guy. He's so sweet. He's so sweet. He said, "So where are your people from?" I was like, "Slaves."
Child.
Silence. I said, "Slaves." Silence. He was like, "Well,"
That's
I
a
was
good
like,
question. I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know, but like we talk about reparations, which is
Mm-hmm.
not fair. Well, slavery wasn't fucking fair, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
things that
Mm-hmm.
are not fair in capitalism, but in the interest, like you said, of supporting everyone and making it better for everyone, those who
Mm-hmm.
come after us, right?
Yes.
For those of us who have kids, who you want to leave
Well,
the place
I
better than
think
you found it,
I think this gets to the root of the thing that we've talked about so many times here on the pod. So, class, please forgive us for retreading this. It's that, like, when you are community oriented, you want everybody to win, and we're not in competition with each other. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, when you look at the billionaires, the people who are in the ruling class, it's an us versus them situation. And they have especially tricked poor white people into
Mm,
believing that it's the gays and the Muslims and the trans people and the undocumented immigrants that are taking from them. And it's like, no, they're taking from
right.
everybody. And it's this greed that is so pervasive that's holding all of us back. It's
Right.
holding all of us back. Ultimately, when we talked about the SNAP benefits, when Trump was halting the SNAP benefits, there were tons of people that were like, I don't want people eating free food. And I'm like, guess what? If somebody's eating free food, if a child is getting a free lunch, it's literally no skin off my back. I don't care.
I
Like,
mean,
who
and
is it
that's
hurting?
that's just like the human part of that. I don't understand that because we
Mm-mm.
all have to eat, right? The idea that
Mm-hmm.
there are so many resources, not only in this country but in the world. I've said this on the
Mm-hmm.
pod before, but the idea that people are actually starving to death
Yes.
is
Yes.
insane to me. It's insane to me that
Mm-hmm.
there are people on the street with no services, and we walk by them and go, "Well, that's I got to get to work."
I got mine. So,
That's capitalism. I mean, the last thing I'll say about back to the Starbucks thing is you kind of tipped on this or touched on this. The barista and the CEO are both employees of Starbucks. Starbucks
mhm.
is run by a board, right? That's how these big corps work. The CEO is the head of the company, but he's an employee being paid by the company.
Mhm.
To your point about sharing or profit sharing, I don't think that this person has to, or that the barista has to make as much as the CEO, but as
No.
an employee, it's crazy that this person
You
is
don't get
making.
to engage in the success of the company that you helped
Yes,
create.
yes,
Yes.
and if you work in Starbucks class, please let us know because I do know they
Mhm.
had at some point they had like
They were
an
trying to
education
people
program.
were
They
trying
had
to
a
unionize. Yeah.
yeah, they had like they had health insurance. They had like really good services for their employees. And that must have dwindled because every Starbucks is trying to unionize. I
Yeah.
forget where that first one was. There was a successful one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, class, if you know more about Starbucks and in particular and its services, please let us know. And
Yeah.
let us know what you think about this overpaid CEO tax because I'm about it. More of this.
Yeah, 1000%. Well, listen, class, this was a phenomenal episode. Please get at us in our inbox, lemmefixitpod@gmail.com. Send us a tagline as a voice note or just via text, or send us your secrets. We will protect your
Mm.
identity and give you some advice right here on the pod. Or maybe there is a book or a TV show or a movie or a celebrity whose career you would like us to fix. Let us know about it, and we might talk about it right here on the pod.
And for those of you who are new to the class, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hit that
Mhm.
notification bell every
Oh,
Wednesdays
wait,
whenever.
sorry. Two things. subscribe first, then notification. You have to subscribe and then turn on the notifications.
Oh, you can't get the notification without subscribing.
No, so you subscribe.
Keep this in. Please keep this in.
So you subscribe first, and then you can just subscribe and not hit the notification bell. But we're asking you to do both steps because the notification bell lets you know when we have a new episode, which seems counterintuitive. You know. Seems counterintuitive. YouTube, get on that, but that's how it actually works.
Well, hit the subscribe button, and then we'll notify you when episodes drop. Also, remember, we are doing The Artist's Way, so those episodes drop on Sunday. They're a little bit shorter, but we're having a lot of fun with that, and I hope those of you who have joined us for that are as well. I'm Delon.
I'm Francesca, and this was
Lemme. Why are my lips so dry? Oh, my God.
Because that's your lips.
I hate you.